The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and/or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Neely Fuller, Jr., 1971. I'm on page 33. The section is explaining what expanding white supremacy, what that means. The expansion of white supremacy also means that the longer white supremacy is maintained, the greater effect it has on the thinking of non-white people. Thus, if the thinking of non-white people is dominated by persons who practice white supremacy, and these thoughts cause non-white people to function as greater support of white supremacy, the effects of white supremacy are expanded. Since white supremacy is the most masterful expression of falsehood, non-justice, and incorrectness among the people of the known universe, any expansion of white supremacy only helps to promote falsehood, non-justice, and incorrectness. What is meant by refining white supremacy? The term refinement of white supremacy means to improve the methods of maintaining white supremacy. This means that the white supremacist racists strive to decrease the necessity for using direct violence and/or the threat of direct violence against non-white people. They instead strive to increase the use of deceit as the basic means of causing their victims to enjoy and/or not resist their subjection to white supremacy. The refinement stage of white supremacy is the ideal stage of racial subjugation. To those white supremacists who strive to produce it, they prefer a condition in which their victims willfully support being the subjects of the white supremacists, as they become accustomed to believing that this is the best possible arrangement between white and non-white people. The white supremacist racists promote the refinement of white supremacy by speaking and/or acting in a manner that makes the practice of white supremacy more acceptable and/or more appealing to the victim. Note, white supremacy racism is a non-just and incorrect social material practice, no matter how it is practiced, and no matter how appealing or acceptable it may be to its victim. The refinement stage of white supremacy is generally promoted through the systematic use of falsehood and/or flattery. Sometimes the flattery takes the form of material objects distributed among the non-white people of the known universe to be used as so-called status symbols. The refinement stage of white supremacy includes speech and/or action by white supremacists. This appears to be against white supremacy, but in truth is only the promotion of white supremacy in a different and/or more deceitful form. Two basic methods of practicing racism, white supremacy. 1, deceit, subtle and/or indirect violence. 2, violence direct, including the threat of violence. Explanation. Deceit. Saying things that are false and influencing non-white people to believe things that are not true. This is done in such a skillful manner that all non-white people, either directly or indirectly, submit to and/or cooperate with the practice of white supremacy, racism. Violence, using direct or indirect bodily harm or threatening to use direct or indirect bodily harm against non-white people who do not submit to and/or cooperate with white supremacist racists in a satisfactory manner. White supremacy is always practiced with deceit or with direct violence or with greatly sophisticated combination of both. 6 most important things to remember about the characteristics of racist man and racist woman. 1. Racist man or racist woman is generally any white person who speaks and or acts in such a manner as to produce or promote the practice of white supremacy, racism at all times, in all places, in one and or all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and or war. 2. Racist man and racist women are collectively the smartest, most powerful, most malicious, most deceitful, most technical, most efficient, most inventive, and most skillfully violent of all the people of the known universe. 3. Racist man and racist woman have as their ultimate objective the eternal promotion of their pride, ego, and arrogant incentive by practicing the internal domination and abuse of people whom they classify as non-white. 4. Racist man and racist woman always use deceit, indirect violence, direct violence, or the threat of direct violence to accomplish their ultimate objective of establishing, maintaining, expanding, and or refining the practice of racism, white supremacy. 5. Racist man and racist woman do not at any time willfully and deliberately do or say anything without the intention of establishing, maintaining, expanding, and or refining the practice of white supremacy racism in all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. 6. Racist man and racist woman, by practicing racism, white supremacy, are the greatest promoters of falsehood, non-justice, and incorrectness among the people of the known universe. 3 basic characteristics of white supremacists by comparison with in relationship to non-white people. 1. Powerful. 2. Smart and or sophisticated. 3. Malicious and or hostile. Explanation: the white supremacist races are the most powerful of all of the people in the known universe. They are willing and able to dominate all non-white people in all places in the known universe and in all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. The white supremacists are smart. They are also very sophisticated. They are not naive or simple-minded. They have very great knowledge and understanding of many things. Their thoughts, speech, and actions are usually complex or greatly developed in form and technique. They are very misleading of others and very clever in doing so. The white supremacists are malicious. They are hostile. They willfully and deliberately practice great deceit and great violence against people classified as non-white. They do this for purposes of maintaining permanent domination and to glorify white supremacy as being the best of all the possible forms of existence in any place at all times throughout the universe, both known and unknown. 3. Basic characteristics of non-white people by comparison with in relation to white people. 1. Powerless and pitiful. 2. Primitive and or ignorant. 3. Stupid and or silly. Explanation. 1. Non-white people by comparison with and in relationship to white supremacist races are powerless and pitiful. Non-white people are pitiful because of their lack of power and or because of their lack of will and ability to think, speak, and act effectively against injustice. In a world social material system dominated by white supremacists, the words powerless and pitiful are terms that best describe all non-white people and persons both individually and collectively. At all times and all places in the known universe, in all areas of activity, some may or may not be primitive, some may or may not be stupid or silly, but all are powerless and pitiful. Of all the white people in the known universe, it is Those who practice white supremacy, racism, who have the greatest will and the greatest ability to do whatever they choose to do in all areas of activity, including economics, education, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. They have also shown through their practice of white supremacy that they have great will and great ability to subjugate non-white people, basically through the skilled use of deceit and violence. They maintain this subjugation through a day-to-day code of thought, speech, and action, utilizing a variety of words and deeds in a manner that promotes falsehood, non-justice, and incorrectness. Non-white people, however, because of the lack of will and ability in one of the more areas of activity, economics and education, etc., are both powerless and pitiful in comparison to the white supremacists who are subjugating them. The term pitiful people best describes all non-white people. 2. Non-white people, by comparison with and in relationship to white supremacist racists, are most of the time, in most areas of activity, primitive. This means that they are relatively simple and elementary in thought, speech, and action. It means that they are comparatively not greatly developed in knowledge and understanding of most things. In most areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. They are not smart or sophisticated in their attempts to prevent being subjugated by white supremacists. They are usually easily fascinated, deceived, and victimized by any white person who believes in and knows how to practice racism. Primitive people are not necessarily savage or brutal. Many of them are very non-offending. Many of them are very, very meek. But those non-white people who best fit the description of primitive are people who do not know or understand very much as compared to a smarter and more sophisticated people such as the white supremacists. They lack both the will and the ability to do most of the things that need to be done to produce justice and correctness. The white supremacists, by comparison, only lack the will. They have the ability but refuse to use it. In this respect, the white supremacists are not as primitive as their subjects, but they are more savage. 3. Non-white people. By comparison with and in relation to white supremacist racists, are most of the time in most areas of activity stupid or silly. Most of them, most of the time, do not think, speak, and or act seriously, effectively in a manner that helps to promote the elimination of racism and the establishment of justice and correctness. Since it is they who are the victims of the injustice and incorrectness that is greatly promoted through racism, white supremacy. The non-white people of the known universe can be correctly judged as stupid or silly when compared to the racist. The racists are powerful, smart, and malicious. They are unjust, but they are not stupid, and they are not silly. They know what needs to be done, and they are smart enough and powerful enough to do it. They know that justice should be produced, but they refuse to produce it. Their victims, the non-white people, when willing, simply do not know how to produce it. It is, however, correct for them to always try. It is their duty to always try. Considering the circumstances, the establishment of justice may be the assigned mission of non-white people of the non-universe. Considering the circumstances, the establishment of justice may be the assigned mission of the non-white people of the known universe.